Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and today I'll be doing a very quick video on this little CRKT knife I bought. This is the P.E.K. Precision Engineered Compact Knife, and I bought this alongside the Spyderco Dragonfly 2 Wharncliffe, and this is also a Wharncliffe. And this is a very, very, very small knife, so this will be a very, very short review, but knowing me, I'll manage to extend it to 10 minutes. So, basics on this, we've got a bead blasted finish. You can see the blade is a chisel grind. So, even though there is exposed edge here, you'd have to actually put in the effort to try to cut yourself. You aren't going to cut yourself by accident on this. It's really not going to happen. It is safely secure against the handle. You aren't going to cut yourself reaching into your pocket. It's got a noticeably large clip for such a small knife. It's certainly not deep carry. I wish it was. About this much of the knife sticks out of your pocket, which includes the logo. I wish it had been a bit more like this, because this is a small knife, and this is actually one I'd be scared that would fall out of my pocket, because, well, when you've got this much sticking out, and there's really not much below it, the majority of the weight of the knife is up here, so there is a possibility that this could fall out. But even so, decent spring tension. This opens with a little thumb stud. Of course, if you want, you can just open it with your finger here. But it opens with a thumb stud. And it is a frame lock. This is a interesting design. Designed by Ed Halligan. And if you can see here, it says P.E.K. Let's just get the light into focus. There we go. P.E.K. Halligan design. You've got the serial number down here. 552. It's kind of hard to see. And of course you have CRKT's logo on the clip. This knife is pretty simply made. You've got washers, as you can see there. Got some washers. I believe these are nylon washers. Got a little hole for a lanyard, which in many cases, I'm normally not a lanyard person. This is the one time I think a lanyard would be a good choice, because if you shove this at the bottom of your pocket and have a good lanyard, you can pull it out even though the knife is deep in your pocket, instead of having to worry that it'll fall out while using the clip. I'm still happy, though, they added the clip, because really, if they hadn't, there would be no substance to this knife at all. It would be almost paper thin. So, at very least, adding that is helpful. The blade, which is a very nice Wharncliffe. I do quite like Wharncliffes. I'd argue it's my favorite blade shape there is. You can see, got a nice grind on this. It's certainly not the most comfortable knife in the world, but if you do, put your finger right here at the base of the clip, it actually does feel kind of nice. Certainly not the greatest ergonomic piece in the world, but also not the worst. To close, you just press on this, and you can close the blade. I have figured out how to flick this open. It's not easy, and there's a very high chance that the knife is going to fly off screen, and I'm going to have to cut the video here because, well, I flicked the knife off the screen. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Alright, it didn't happen. It's difficult and really unnecessary, since you're not going to be tactically deploying this little thing, unless you're a lunatic. But you can flick this open. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. You can absolutely flick this open. It's not the easiest knife to flick open, hence its very small size, but you still can if you wish. So all in all, there's not much to say. Oh, the steel, right. Don't bother. CRKT's steel is... I'm sorry, CRKT, but you've probably heard this a lot. The steel is absolutely garbage. It's very easy to dull. It doesn't sharpen so well. And it doesn't even have good corrosion resistance. I've actually had CRKTs that have started developing surface rust, even though they're supposed to be stainless steel. So, it's okay, but it's not great. I would not recommend CRKT steel and say, oh, they make good steel. Not really. CRKT makes interesting designs. Benchmade makes good all-round designs. And Spyderco, if you want to go to a place to find exotic steels, Spyderco is your best bet. But even so, ow. That's another thing about this knife I don't really like. There's this little choil here, and sometimes you pinch your finger on it when you're closing it. As you can see, that rests against this little pin here. But, you know, this knife, once you get the hang of it, is easy to operate. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward process, but even so, you know, it's a nice little backup knife, maybe even a keychain EDC, but certainly not a main carry knife, unless, of course, you live around a bunch of people who, as Nick Shabazz likes to put it, dive under tables and scream it's a weapon whenever you pull out a knife, in which case I feel very sorry for you, because the world's not as tolerant to knives as they used to be. People used to be able to cut their apples with switchblades, and that wouldn't scare anyone, but now if you pull this out, people might dive under tables thinking you're going to massacre everyone. It's just sad. But politics aside, worldviews aside, this knife it's decent. It's small, compact. You can use the clip if you want. You can use the lanyard hole if you want. Easy to open and close. The chisel grind means that it's safely snug up against the handle. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be doing much hard use with this. And if you are, first off, you're insane. And secondly, you can always just resharpen it. But I'd recommend this probably under the primary function of box cutter. This would be a really good box cutter, maybe even an envelope opener. But all in all, based off of the KISS Keep It Super Simple made by Ed Halligan, the precision engineered compact knife it's a decent knife, especially when you consider it's $30. Maybe a bit overpriced for the steel they're using, but I still think it's nice. If they do this in a kind of black wash finish, I definitely want that, because I like black wash finishes. They look all aged. Bead Blast is certainly not my favorite, but it'll get the job done. Doesn't matter. Anyways, sorry for that ramble. This has been the CRKT P.E.K. Once again, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, always supports me. Hit the notification bell, comment below, let me know what you think of this knife, or anything really. And yeah, this has been the CRKT P.E.K. And this is the Streaming Enderman, as always, signing off. Goodbye.